Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics. In this video, we're going to delve into some more of your questions and comments. This time on the general topic of the law-breaking nature of the internal market bill that Boris Johnson has been pushing in the last week, and next week he intends to have it rushed through Parliament, and what can and will be done to stop it. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So I've tried to go through a few completely different ones here. So the first one, in terms of, is a statement really regarding Boris Johnson and his commitment to the withdrawal agreement, saying he never intended to honour the withdrawal agreement. He gave away our investment in the European Investment Bank in the rush to get it signed. I mean, what I would say about Boris Johnson, whether or not he did or did not ever intend to abide by the withdrawal agreement, I don't think, it's not even that it's not a fruitful line of discussion or speculation. I don't think even Boris Johnson knows. What I mean by that is Boris Johnson, and this isn't just something that you can observe from afar, although I believe you can. People close to him will say the same thing, indeed have said the same thing. Boris Johnson focuses very much on the short term. You know, that's all he's interested in. The short term. What gets him through the day? At the time, he needed to deliver a withdrawal agreement. He knew that Parliament would not vote to leave the EU without a deal. Would Boris Johnson have been prepared to leave the EU without a deal? If it's what kept him Prime Minister, absolutely. All he wanted to be was Prime Minister. It's all he entered politics for. He'll do whatever's necessary to allow him to be Prime Minister for just an extra day and then worry about the challenge that creates the following day and so on. The ERG said that they would support it if it was like fingers crossed behind the back. It's like, okay, we can see that Parliament's not going to let you leave without a deal. We can see that. We get that, Boris. Tell you what, why don't you get a deal that gets rid of the backstop, and then we'll support that, but we're not going to tie ourselves into the EU. So then Johnson went, okay, well, there's this thing that Theresa May turned down because it's even worse than her deal. And they went, okay, but you're not going to stick to it, are you? Oh, no. Even at the time, you think to yourself, so what plan, long-term plan, did Boris Johnson have? Because he knows there would come a point where the withdrawal agreement would have to be implemented. Did he, in his own mind, think to himself, we'll work it around, or did he just think, well, do you know what, when the time comes, I will just drop it? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't know. As such, it's not really worth thinking about. What matters is that the ERG were quite serious about dropping it completely. So how much of this is inevitable, I don't know. But anyway, on to ones where we can be a bit more positive, I think. So the next one, it says, could it be that Johnson et al. Are just looking for a news story to distract from the tidal wave of COVID about to swamp us? A dangerous game to play, of course, but this government have never given a hoot about rolling the dice. I can't believe they are seriously considering implementing these changes to the protocol. How does it make any sense at all? A couple of things. So first of all, absolutely, they are loving the fact that they can talk about Brexit. Even if it's something terrible about Brexit, they love Brexit. At the moment, they love Brexit. Whether they'll still love Brexit in December or more, especially next January and as time rolls on, is another matter. But for now, they love it. And the reason they love it is because people have their views on Brexit and they ain't changing. Nothing is changing them. The people that are against Brexit, there are people that have moved from a position of pro-Brexit to anti-Brexit, but that is now stuck. We're stuck on that. Boris Johnson talking about Brexit is not going to turn any more of the public against him than already is. Boris Johnson letting the country discuss COVID cannot possibly win because he's making a proper arse of it. Yes, he's also making a proper arse of Brexit, but people aren't seeing that now. So yeah, they'd absolutely love it. But do I think that all of this internal market bill has been engineered specifically to turn the discussion away from COVID and towards Brexit? No, not at all. This is 100%, I'm absolutely convinced, because the ERG have forced him to do it. They don't even seem to be quiet about the fact that they're forcing him to do it either. And you know, and I only see it from afar, of course, but someone who is much closer to it. I was reading something that a former Conservative MEP had said about it, and they're of the same opinion as well. People sort of within the party sort of know what's going on as well. And you have to remember, the majority of the people in the party are fully in line with the ERG. I mean, you might imagine the ERG are this fringe group. Well, they used to be a fringe group. They are no longer a fringe group. They are now the power behind the throne. You know, that is what they are. The ERG are now to the Conservative Party what Militant were to the Labour Party in the 80s and what Momentum were to the Labour Party over the last few years as well. They are the power behind the throne. Except I would actually argue that in the case of the ERG, much more insidious, because there's nothing genuine about them. I think with Militant and Momentum, there was at least some genuine politics in there, a genuine belief that what they believed in was for the best of the country. There's none of that with the ERG. It's entirely about selfish gains, purely about selfish gains. So from that point of view, much, much worse. But in terms of the level of control they enjoy, it is there. And they will have their claws firmly in because it's very much in line with the thinking of party members. In terms of, you know, you can't believe that they're seriously considering implementing these changes to the protocol, can't you? Like I said, Boris Johnson does not worry about long-term consequences. As far as he's concerned, that's the future. Right now, he is facing the threat of having his premiership come to an end. The ERG will have said to him, and you're not agreeing anything with the EU. If you agree something with the EU, you're gone. This withdrawal agreement was only ever supposed to get us to leave the EU. We've now left the EU. Nothing can now change. If we were to lose the next general election, another government came in, it would be quite difficult for them to change anything quite quickly. Your job, Mr. Johnson, is before the next general election to completely wreck this country to the point where nobody could get us to rejoin the EU for a generation. That is your job. Are you up to it? Because if you're not, go and we'll get someone who is up to it. I think that is what they're saying. Because the more damage is done to the country, the more of a wedge is driven between the UK and the EU, the richer they and their backers become. So although I am absolutely certain that they are loving the fact that they can talk about Brexit, they could have done that anyway because the talks were coming to a climax this month. No, I especially when you look at the language that was being used, because this is out of the blue, completely out of the blue. This has caught everyone by surprise. Everyone who's monitoring the situation by surprise. And I think it's because it's come internally from the Conservative Party in a way that was not anticipated. Next one, can your Queen sack the Prime Minister and Cabinet in this case? No. I know in theory the Queen appoints the Prime Minister and appoints Cabinet Ministers and all the rest of it. In reality, she doesn't. She's a functionary from this point of view. We have a constitutional monarchy. The Queen is no part of government. There are three branches of government. The Queen is not one of those three branches of government. So, no. In terms of what the Queen actually does, in terms of her job, she is involved in diplomacy. She is the head of state. She goes amongst the world and sells Britain around the world. She's got a very tough time of it at the moment. She also receives heads of state visiting this country. She is a super diplomat. That is her role. She is not a part of government. So really the people to deal with this, the Queen is really acting on what Parliament wants. When the Queen appoints a Prime Minister, she's really doing what Parliament are wanting her to do. Now, she has to infer that because Parliament don't hold, although they can under certain circumstances, but they don't hold formal votes on who is to be Prime Minister. So she has to infer it, and if there's any doubt, then it can be tricky. But yeah, she's acting on what Parliament wants. So if Parliament were to, for example, issue a vote of no confidence in Boris Johnson's leadership, and that were to result in a defeat for Boris Johnson, then that triggers a bit of a process. If they then vote to support a different candidate, or even just write a letter to the Queen, she would dismiss Boris Johnson and appoint, I mean, he should really resign, but if he refused, she would dismiss him and then appoint the new Prime Minister. So she doesn't get any decision making in any of these processes. This is why it has been said a lot, and it was particularly confirmed by the highest constitutional court in the land, the Supreme Court, last year. It is Parliament that is sovereign, not the sovereign herself. She's just called the sovereign, but the sovereign power in this country lies with Parliament. If Boris Johnson needs to be removed because he is a danger to the country, it is Parliament's duty and role to do that. Next one, it says it would be fun if the EU dragged the UK to the World Trade Organization court for arbitration. I wonder what Brexiteers would say then. I wouldn't hold your breath there. The problem is that the arbitration panel is effectively not in effect because the United States blocked appointments to it. If you remember, Trump is messing about. So the World Trade Organization at the moment has no teeth, and that is actually not to our benefit. Because you might think, oh, well, if there's no arbitration panel, then we can break World Trade Organization rules and there'll be no comeback. Well, sort of. Yeah, sort of. The thing is, though, all that would happen is because there is no arbitration panel, then other countries will say, well, we'll just take our own action then. And that is what will happen. Now, normally that's not always a problem. The reason why Trump is doing this, for example, I'm not necessarily saying he's thought all this through. America is powerful enough to be able to cope without that arbitration panel. If it doesn't like what someone is doing, it has enough economic and political might to bully them into line. The UK outside of the EU does not. So if we're going to go around pissing people off and breaking rules, then the people, where it really matters, the countries specifically, are powerful enough to actually take their own unilateral action against us. So now I wouldn't, all this World Trade Organization stuff, I'd completely dismiss it for now. It has no teeth. It was always a bit tricky anyway, like any legal process. It would always take years. And ultimately, you know, although the World Trade Organization would always say who was in the right and who was in the wrong, there was no enforcement as such. The enforcement was basically, well, you're in the wrong, therefore the party that was in the right gets to take whatever action they like, pretty much. There was no forcing of anything. Doesn't have the power. But now it doesn't even have the capacity to say who's in the right or who's in the wrong. So in that case, might makes right, and we are not going to be mighty. Then the final one in terms of kicking this out. So first of all, if we imagine that this goes through the Commons, and it might, you know, I am distressed to learn that there are only about 30 Conservative MPs confirmed at the moment as planning to vote against it. There would need to be 50 to make sure. Now, I have no doubt whatsoever that there'll be some MPs who under normal circumstances would vote against it, but Boris Johnson will probably make his usual threat to kick anyone out of the party if they vote against this, in order to get them to fall into line. So this may well go through the Commons because of backbench MPs lacking any sort of spine, as alluded to in this comment. But then the House of Lords. So it says here, why are you so certain the House of Lords will throw this out? Boris Johnson, or rather a rude name for Boris Johnson, has already added a significant number of pro-Tory, pro-Brexit saboteurs to the place, irrespective of the fact that the majority of the others seem to have A, no spine, and B, no intelligence. So, first of all, I'm not 100% certain that the Lords will throw it out. I am fairly certain that they will the first time around. What I'm curious to see is what happens when they do throw it out, send it back to the Commons, and Boris Johnson sends it right back again. Will they stand firm? I still believe they will, but that's a lower probability because that would be a real facing off against the Commons, which does happen sometimes. It's very rare. Very rarely it's needed, to be honest. So you say, so first of all, Boris Johnson already added a significant number of pro-Tory, pro-Brexit saboteurs to the place. Yes, he has. When he promised to actually reduce the size of the Lords, he's absolutely packed it out. It now has more members than ever because he's just thrown in a load of people. True. But they're still in a minority. The Conservatives are still in a minority in the Lords. The other thing to note is that Boris Johnson has no control over anyone in the Lords. None at all. Once you appoint someone to the House of Lords, you have zero control over them. Zero. They will do whatever they feel is right. Now, you can get some who will still act out of self-interest. Absolutely. But what you won't do is get any that will act out of the interest for the party's leadership. And what has been interesting to note is that so in the Lords you do have a number of Conservatives, not all of whom are in favour of any part of Boris Johnson's Brexit plan. So famously, for example, Michael Heseltine, former deputy leader of the party. Or former deputy prime minister rather, but you've also got some pro-Brexit senior Conservatives in the Lords, like Norman Lamont, for example, former Chancellor, and Michael Howard, the former Conservative leader. Now, the former Conservative leader who sacked Boris Johnson for lying, by the way. One of the times when Boris Johnson was sacked for lying from politics. I still cannot believe it. Who gets sacked for lying as a politician? Boris Johnson. He's a wonder in many ways. So in fact, someone was actually sort of joking, bit of gallows humour, about the prospects of us facing economic sanctions as a result of our law breaking, and they were saying only Boris Johnson could come up with a form of Brexit that's even worse than no deal. No deal plus economic sanctions. There we go. He's a trendsetter, really, isn't it? Well, I hope he's not a trendsetter, because that would mean others would follow his lead. But anyway, so Norman Lamont, I mean, his was the best answer. He won't be supporting this, he says. But the reason was not because it's an affront, to the Conservatives to be breaking the law like this. He said, well, we might have been able to argue it, but then a government minister stood up in the House and said it was illegal. Can't really support it now. And then Michael Howard, who was, much clearer on the point, he said, the rule of law is extremely important. We cannot be doing this. So he will oppose it as well. So what I'm saying is, even if the Brexiteers in the House of Lords were to get behind Johnson's bill, in all likelihood, it would still not get through first time. But you have actually got prominent Conservative Brexiteers in the Lords saying there is no way on earth we can support this. Of course we will not be supporting this. That is why I say. So what will happen is, if it gets through the Commons, and I still, at the moment, all right, there's now a decent chance it will get through the Commons. There's not enough rebels. And Boris Johnson, by pushing it through, he's not giving the existing rebels enough time to work on their parliamentary colleagues, to build up more of a resistance to it. So we'll see. It looks like it would be a tight vote, but Boris Johnson may just swing it with threats to remove the whip from any MPs who vote against it. Then it goes to the Lords. It will be stopped in the Lords. It'll go back to the Commons in an amended form, or just completely blocked, whatever. But the offending parts of it will not be passed by the Lords. It'll go back to the Commons. Boris Johnson can then either leave it, in which case he won't be breaking the law anytime soon, but then there'll be other issues resulting from that, but can worry about that when it happens. Or he can send it back to the Lords and say, no, I mean it, you're passing this. That is the point where we go, right, let's see now. I still think even then they will block it. I think they will stand firm. That is also the information we're getting from the Lords. I'm not just, saying that because why would they not? Because that's what, even the ones you would expect to support Boris Johnson's hard Brexit supporters are not supporting this in the Lords. That's not to say they'll have no supporters in the Lords, but it will not be anywhere close to a majority. So anyway, there we go. Those are your thoughts and then mine added onto them. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.